On the evening of November 1st, 2025, what should have been a totally routine train journey here in the UK just descended into absolute chaos. So in this explainer, we're going to break down the timeline of the mass stabbing on that LLAR train, how the emergency services responded, and what the investigation has uncovered so far. To really get a sense of what this was like, you have to start with the sheer terror on board. This quote from a passenger, Ollie Foster, just captures that moment when a normal Saturday evening turned into a fight for survival. He said he first thought it might be some kind of cruel Halloween prank, but the reality was so much worse. Okay, so let's just lay out the basic facts here. This all happened on a busy LNR service, the 6:25 p.m. train from Doncaster heading down to London King's Cross. It was a Saturday night, and as you can imagine, the train was packed with people traveling into the capital. All right, first up, let's dive into how this attack actually unfolded from the perspective of the people who were there, trapped inside a moving train. This timeline really shows you just how incredibly fast everything went wrong. So the train leaves Doncaster right on time, and then Peterborough at 7:30. But just 10 minutes later, the rampage starts. And then only 2 minutes after that, the first desperate 999 calls start flooding in. An entire world changed in less than 15 minutes. So what was it actually like inside that train? Well, it was just pure chaos. Eyewitness accounts paint this terrifying picture, a man with a large knife just assaulting passengers at random. People were reporting blood everywhere as they desperately tried to hide in the toilets, completely trapped inside a moving train carriage. The chaos on board forced a critical decision. The train had to be stopped, and that brings the whole incident to its climax at a small station in Cambridgeshire. Now, this is where the speed of the official response was, well, pretty remarkable. After an emergency alarm brought the train screeching to a halt at Huntington, armed police were deployed as calls flooded in. And this is the crucial part. In just 8 minutes. 8 minutes from that very first 999 call, 2 suspects were in custody. That is incredibly swift and decisive action. And this whole thing wasn't just contained inside the train. Witnesses who were on the platform described this incredibly tense standoff. They saw a man waving a large knife before armed officers moved in, using a taser to subdue him and then get him restrained. Okay, with the immediate threat contained, a much bigger official response was kicking into high gear. This wasn't just treated as a standard crime. No, this was escalated to the highest levels. To really get why this was taken so seriously, you have to understand something called the Plato Protocol. It's a national emergency code word, and it's used for one specific thing: a suspected marauding terror attack. Activating it mobilizes this massive, coordinated response that's designed to counter an ongoing assault. So at first, police hit the big red button, They triggered the Plato Protocol because they were treating this as an absolute worst-case scenario. But once officers were on the scene and had the situation contained, it was stood down. A major incident was still declared, of course, but the assessment had shifted from a potential terror attack to a contained mass assault. This event sent shockwaves right across the country, all the way to the top. This statement from King Charles really underscores the national significance of the attack, expressing sympathy for everyone affected and, of course, gratitude for the emergency services. But beyond the official protocols and the headlines, this is really a story about people. So let's focus now on the human toll of the attack, the individuals who were arrested, and an absolutely incredible act of bravery. The human cost here was just significant. In total, 11 people were injured, 10 were rushed to the hospital by ambulance, and another person actually came forward with injuries a bit later on. And this chart, it really gives you a clear picture of just how severe this was. Initially, 9 of the 11 injured people were believed to have life-threatening injuries. That's a staggering number. By the next day, thankfully, 4 had already been discharged. But as that second bar shows, 2 people were still in a life-threatening condition, fighting for their lives. But even in the middle of all that darkness, you find these moments of incredible courage. An eyewitness reported seeing an older man who deliberately put himself between an attacker and a younger girl. He shielded her, and he took injuries to his own head and neck in the process. Just a true act of heroism. So, who are the suspects? Well, the British Transport Police have released some very specific details about the two men arrested for attempted murder. Both are British nationals, both born right here in the UK, and they were taken to separate police stations for questioning. Okay, the suspects are in custody. Now the focus shifts to the really complex part, the investigation, to understand what happened, and most importantly, why. And this, of course, is the question on everybody's mind, right? Given the random nature of the attack, the initial high-level response, was this an act of terrorism? Well, we have a pretty direct answer to that. In a press conference the morning after, Superintendent John Lovelace of the British Transport Police was very, very clear. He said that while counterterrorism police did initially support the investigation, he stated there was, and I quote, "nothing to suggest that this is a terrorist incident." So let's just recap where the investigation is at right now. The British Transport Police are in the lead, and their number one focus is figuring out a motive. Both suspects are still in custody, and in the meantime, for passengers, there's major disruption, though LNER is offering flexibility on tickets, which is good to see. And that really brings us to the question that's going to linger long after the headlines fade. Yes, the official response was incredibly fast, and a hero emerged from the chaos. But a random attack like this, it just chips away at that sense of security we all expect on a daily commute. It forces all of us to ask, in a world of unpredictable threats, what does safety on our public transport, what does it really look like?